Frankly, for decades, India has been raising the issue of safe havens for Khalistani elements in Canada. In fact, late Indira Gandhi had raised it with Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, when he was Canada's Prime Minister in 1982. Sadly, no action was taken. Indira Gandhi was assassinated in October 1984. Justin Trudeau appears to be trying to palm off a tableau. What's that tableau again? That's a tableau that depicts Indira Gandhi's assassination. Is Canada trying to palm this off as freedom of expression? This isn't the only instance of Canada's inaction. In 2018, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had strongly taken up the issue of Sikh extremism with Justin Trudeau during the Canadian Prime Minister's visit to India. In February 2018, Captain Amrinder Singh, then Chief Minister of Punjab, had handed over a list of 9 Khalistani extremists and operatives to the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. That was in 2018. This is 2023, July. That list, incidentally, includes the names of Babbar Khalsa International member Lakhbir Singh Sandhu, alias Landa. Landa is originally from Tarantaran in Punjab. The National Investigation Agency, NIA, has announced a reward of 15 lakh rupees on Landa. But it's not just one individual. Arshdeep Singh Gill, alias Arsh Dalla. Again, Arsh Dalla is based in Canada. He's linked to the Khalistan Tiger Force. Dalla, incidentally, was designated an individual terrorist by the Ministry of Home Affairs in January 2023. Government wants action against him. Will Canada take action? Remains to be seen. Yet another accused wanted by the NIA is Satwinder Jeet Singh, alias Goldie Brar, an accused in the killing of Pradeep Kumar, a Dera Sacha Sauda follower. This happened in Faridkot in November 2022. Once again, Canada sadly found wanting, not taking action against terrorists, extremists and terror sympathizers, all in the name of freedom of expression. So is there merit in Justin Trudeau saying India is wrong and that Canada has taken the threat of violence very seriously and has taken strong action against terror? You heard the Canadian Prime Minister. These are his words. The Canadian Prime Minister insists Canada is not soft on terror. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has accused Canada of the Canadian leadership of vote bank politics and inaction against terror threats to Indian diplomats. Let's try and make sense of these developments. Joining me on the magnitude of the threat posed by the Khalistani supporters and Canada's meek response are Shashikant. Shashikant is former Director General of the Punjab Police. Also with me is Ambassador Veena Sikri, former top diplomat. And Ambassador Sikri, I want to ask you first, ma'am. Is there merit in Justin Trudeau saying Canada is taking serious action against terrorists and threats of violence and that India is wrong to think Canada is soft on terror?
No, I think that that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is clearly, there's a clear gap between what he is saying and his actions on the ground. I think this tableau that you showed, it's clearly glorifying violence. It's glorifying the assassination, the tragic assassination of former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. And he's saying that we do not allow glorification of violence, we do not allow extremism. And we know that there are posters with threats of killing, calling for the killing of our senior diplomats in Canada. And that's not extremism, that's not violence. I think our External Affairs Minister put it very carefully, very correctly, that we are asking our partners that they must not give space to violence and extremists. And that is very important, and this is for our partners. And Canada is an important strategic partner of India. They must take note of it. And we have to continue with it strong. Our spokesman has said it, our External Affairs Minister has said it, and this the rally which is being called in Canada, I think also on the 8th of July, both in UK and in Canada, and the simultaneous threats to all senior Indian diplomats in UK, in Canada, in Australia. I think these are extremely serious and they really have a serious potential for violence, serious potential for harming bilateral relations, because India will not hesitate.
Our missions have been targeted. You're absolutely right, ma'am. Whether it's San Francisco, where the Indian consulate was targeted twice, vandalism first time, arson second time. Our mission in the United Kingdom, the Indian High Commission was targeted in UK. our temples have been vandalized in Australia. But let's stick to Canada for a moment. Sir, Mr. Shashikant, I want to come to you now, sir. Will Justin Trudeau's response actually, in your appreciation, embolden the Khalistani elements? Because here, in the name of freedom of expression, they seem to have state support.
Yeah, my first reaction is I don't think Justin Trudeau believes his own words, whatever he's saying. They are hollow words, and I don't think that he himself believes in that, no way. And talking about the involvement, the encouragement of the Canadian government to such elements, you know, there are certain newspapers in Brampton and other places. Out and out, Khalistani, they are getting government advertisements, government aid, they are getting finances from the Canadian government. And all these things, it's not only that we are saying, you know, Stephen Harper, when he had come to India recently, he had also asked Trudeau that, hey, look after yourself, look after the interests of your country. What you're talking about, you're giving absolute support to the Khalistani elements. So it is not only we who are shouting and we are saying that, yeah, whatever he's doing, whatever he's saying is absolutely wrong, but even the Canadians themselves, their former prime ministers are saying this thing, that this man, Trudeau, is absolutely going on the wrong way. Thank you.
Can, Ambassador Sikri, can Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dismiss the activities of these Khalistani extremists as freedom of expression? Or is there merit in Dr. Jaishankar actually nailing the Canadian government, saying this is nothing but vote bank politics, and we are playing out how Justin Trudeau is dependent on Jagmeet Singh, and why is that very dangerous, not just for India, but perhaps even for Canada, ma'am?
Yes, certainly. I think that External Affairs Minister has certainly called out what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is trying to say, trying to justify something which is incorrect, because a threat of violence, as we know, is the next step is the violent act itself. And when you are actually calling for such violent action against diplomats who are supposed to be protected by the government of the day in Canada, when you're calling for this, anybody will take that, saying I was authorized to do it. Anybody will take up those words. We've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen with our diplomat Ravindra Mahatre in Birmingham.
Yes.
We've seen it happen in other places. People have lost their lives because of such calls for action against diplomatic personnel. And we know that India will not hesitate to take action. We know that in the case of the UK High Commissioner, we actually, did withdraw the Tier 2 and Tier 3 security for the UK High Commission, because we will not hesitate. Because our citizens, our diplomats who are protecting the interests of our country in these very difficult missions abroad, they need our protection, they need our help in every way. And we know that by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying these, mundane words and these, kind of anodyne words, he is only encouraging people like Mr. Panoon of the Sikhs for Justice group to actually go ahead and live up to his word. And not only is the 8th of July rally one of the first things, then he is calling for action leading up to August 15th. He's saying that from now till Independence Day, August 15th, there must be a series of actions. So the kind of threat that our very senior diplomats are facing is real, is serious, is dangerous, and the government will indeed take every action to protect them. And
a spark neglected burns the house. But here, Canada may call itself a liberal democracy. But in a liberal democracy, and as you very rightly pointed out, ma'am, you mentioned Mr. Mahatre's killing in Birmingham in the 1980s. Again, England calls itself a liberal democracy, but these countries actually end up being safe haven for terrorists of all hues. They suffer themselves. Britain has suffered. God forbid, Canada may suffer. But Mr. Shashikant, a tableau depicting the assassination of Indira Gandhi clearly cannot be seen as freedom of expression. This timid response, this very timid response of the Justin Trudeau government saying it's freedom of expression, or the posters of Indian diplomats. So as a former top police officer, does this not paint a very clear target on our diplomats, whether in the United States or in Canada or in UK or Australia?
Certainly it does. Certainly is. That is certainly not welcome. And now what they're saying about July 8th, they want to see there some killer rally or something they are planning. What's happening? And Canada and freedom of speech, I think they are two different things. And more, I'll say that Trudeau doesn't know what he's dealing with. He's dealing with a loose cannon. Militancy, terrorism, they don't have any fence. maybe tomorrow they just turn the cannon towards this Canada or towards Trudeau, etc., etc. Anything is possible. And again, I'll come to this thing. Trudeau and company, they say that they believe in freedom of speech. I'll give you one small instance. So in 2013, Punjab and Haryana High Court has been asking for extradition of some top smuggler sitting there who is funding these persons, militants.
Yes.
And they say that we don't know where they are. This is the kind of language they speak. This is their belief in freedom of speech and justice and all those high values they talk about. Thank you.
How should India deal with such a dangerous situation? This is a very lethal situation that under the garb of freedom of expression, under the garb of a liberal democracy, you have terrorism that's actually being encouraged by leaders like Justin Trudeau, either directly or indirectly. This is very dangerous for India. What can India do, Ambassador Sikri?
Well, in the first instance, we have to talk to them very, very frankly, even if it means to, the ultimate step is to recall your ambassador and to say that, there will be a hiatus in the bilateral relationships. They know that this will come, but they seem to be counting on the fact that there's so many Indians are going to Canada to study, and there's so much demand for Indian visas. So they're trying to say that this will, the popular, demand for going to Canada, etc., will override that. But I think they're quite wrong, because national security is paramount. And actually, today they're calling for violence against diplomats. Tomorrow they will actually inflict violence on Indian students, on Indian civilians who are there for legitimate purposes, living and studying. And we've already seen there have been arson attacks on the Indian Consulate General in San Francisco. So obviously there is a very serious response, because the people who are there, who are being funded, the Sikhs for Justice, funded by the ISI and other agencies, they then demand action. When somebody gives you money, then you say, okay, now you've got to take action, you've got to do something, what I'm telling you to do. And so they either go out and do violence, kill somebody, or they do arson and things like that. So the Indian government will not hesitate. We've seen Justin Trudeau himself, when he had the trucker strike, when he was facing the trucker strike, he in a week's time threatened the truckers, I'll shut down your bank accounts, I'll do this, I'll look into all, all kinds of threats were
absolutely
held out to end the trucker strike. But in this case, he's very blasé. He's just saying, oh no, India is wrong and so on. We have to have serious talks. Already the Canadian envoy has been called in by the Ministry of External Affairs, and it'll be carried to the next level. It'll be escalated, definitely. And I think that even if the two prime ministers have to talk, to actually say that this is not going to be allowed to carry on. And Indian diplomats cannot be placed under this position of threat from a group based right there in Canada. And India has given the names of all the people, and you had it on your screen.
Absolutely.
But no action has been taken against any of them.
No,
Captain
Lakhbir Singh Sandhu,
when he was Chief Minister
NIA has a 15 lakh rupee reward on him. Mr.
Yes.
Shashikant, Lakhbir Singh Sandhu, Arshdeep Singh Gill, alias Arsh Dalla, Satwinder Singh Jeet Singh, alias Goldie Brar. I have that entire list. But my question is, this is not the first time. Let me take you back in history. Canadian journalists have written about this, that Indira Gandhi had raised this with Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, in 1982. Take action against Khalistani supporters. 1982. India has been raising this since then. And sir, no action has been taken. It just shows that over decades, the Khalistanis are so well entrenched that they decide who wins elections, who stays in power. How will action be taken? Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken it up with Justin Trudeau himself at the level of the Chief Minister, Captain Amrinder Singh, then Chief Minister of Punjab. He took it up, and yet no action. 2018, now it's 2023, sir.
Trudeau is just trying to save his own chair. It is not his government, it's not his party which is ruling there, it's the NDP which is ruling. They are dictating the terms to Trudeau, and Trudeau is just succumbing to their pressure and whatever he might say. But the fact remains that, yes, he is just totally subservient to these things. Yes, I believe that our Punjabis have done wonders in Canada, in UK, in US, and Australia, in fact, the entire European Union. But when a government, duly elected government, claim to swear by the constitution, they succumb to certain local interests just to save their own chairs. I think that's very, very strange, and that's very shameful, I'll say. Sorry, I'm using this hard word, but that's what I believe in. Thank you.
In in a situation where this is happening in multiple liberal democracies. United States, our mission in San Francisco targeted twice. The consulate was targeted twice. There was arson and vandalism. In Canada, these posters have come up. In the United Kingdom, the Indian High Commission was targeted, our flag was desecrated, and it's been happening for quite some time there. Again,
Yes.
it's happening in Australia. Ambassador Sikri, these are our strategic partners. These are amongst our closest allies, and yet this is happening. So we blame Pakistan, but how is Canada any different?
No, it's not that Canada is any different. Canada is just allowing the ISI to do this, and they're knowingly allowing it. So they are as guilty if they are accusing the ISI of doing something incorrect. And of course, we know where the money and the funding and the financing and the weaponry is coming from. So they are as guilty. But then the Canadian government, by knowingly allowing them to do it, has to be held guilty as well. And I think that this is a part of the calling out of weakness of action against terrorism and extremism and threats of violence. This is the UN's weakness which is being shown up, the weakness of individual countries who not only hide behind the so-called freedom of expression, but then allow the UN to be ruined in terms of expressing its will and taking action against terrorists and violent groups. We have a UN known list of terrorists. India has given all these information to everybody so that everybody knows who these groups are, who the leaders
Yes.
are, who are the ones who are considered terrorists. There's no excuse for lack of action, and we have to now call them out. Yes, you're right, there are partners. External Affairs Minister used the word partners when he spoke about giving space to extremists and terrorists in different countries. In Quad, you know, both Australia
Absolutely.
and USA are India's partners in Quad. With UK and with Canada, we have strategic partnerships. So how is it that it's happening despite that? And I think that at this time, when UK, Australia, USA and Canada, they're all talking to India about elevating strategic partnerships, about working together in the Indo-Pacific, we have to hold them to account for their actions on this matter, because it
To
concerns...
very clearly hold Justin Trudeau's feet to fire and ensure action is taken against these elements, because a spark neglected very clearly burns the house. It's not just 7 seas away. Their actions have had consequences in India, and God forbid in 2024, an election year, the consequences could be huge.